quickly get into it. Let's talk about quickly talk about some of the rights of the Nigerian employees. Um, we have a situation where our medical doctors are on strike because they're lamenting the poor working conditions in the country. Do they have rights to go on strike in that regard?
Yes, it's quite unfortunate that these situations are always coming up. Reason because when you comes to occupational safety and health of workers in Nigeria, is not given a top priority. And moreover, Nigeria as a developing country is still struggling to meet up with international best practices when it comes to safety of workers, safety of employees in different sectors, in different work environments. But looking at the situation we are facing now, the doctors are going for strike because of welfare facilities or because of wages and hazard allowance, as you mentioned, and all that. It's really their right. It's really their right because these are people who are in the front line of tackling different health issues of Nigerians. Therefore, the employers who are the governments and the different hospitals and all that supposed to provide necessary amenities, necessary welfare packages to ensure that their safety is granted. Is their right, you see. And again, making sure that they also have all necessary equipments and gadgets and training and knowledge to be able to work safely, manage different kind of pandemic. You can see the situation during the coronavirus at the peak of this situation. They are in the front line. In abroad, in the Western world, many of them lost their lives. You see, because they are in a very hazardous and a very critical sector. So they should be given top priorities in terms of their own safety first, because they have to protect themselves before they look for who to protect. They have to be healthy and sound before they look for another person's health. So it's just unfortunate that we're having this kind of situation. But it all boils down on our leaders, the employers, to understand the need to ensure employee safety, which involves so many things in terms of welfare packages, in terms of providing necessary amenities and gadgets and knowledge and training required to execute any task, especially in critical sectors like healthcare sector.
In place, I was talking to somebody and he mentioned that how he worked in a factory and he had to inhale several chemicals, and he's afraid that those chemicals may have damaged, some organs in his body, because while he works there, they were not even given as little as face masks.
These are the situations. In fact, when it comes to the informal sector, it's more serious. Now, coming to factories is another issue, because even in the Factory Act is already stipulated that every factory or every industry or such need to provide the safety measures for every worker. And not just providing safety measures for everyone, providing the appropriate one and making sure that the worker have the knowledge of the kind of hazard he or she is exposed to. In fact, when it comes to the employee safety in this part of the world, you see people gambling into issues and things they are not even aware of the outcome. They are not aware of the outcome, which is already a crime in the United States. You can't employ a staff or an employee to start work without giving that staff the knowledge and informations of what is involved in that job, the critical nature of that job, the hazard status of that job, and also have to ensure his or her own safety executing that job. Is already a crime. If that employee should report you to the regulators in charge in that, you are going to pay heavily for it, and you will not sack that staff, because he or she is on his or her right. that you did not expose me to certain nature. I'm just discovering at the outcome of this job that I'm now exposed to these chemicals, or I'm exposed to these radiations, I'm exposed to these kind of injuries. I never knew, and you failed to inform me. I will show you.
Do we have such regulators in Nigeria where workers can go and lay complaints and their complaints are taken seriously and taken up to the point where they are paid damages for such injuries they've been exposed to?
You see, that is what why I said earlier that Nigeria is a developing country. A lot is still on the pipeline. We have not gotten there.
And 61 years
we are still,
after we got independence.
I'm telling you, but it will also shock you that we till now don't have a very strong in line with the international standard, having a regulator or a council or an agency in charge on safety generally the way it is in other countries. In America, they have Occupational Safety and Health Administration working under the Department of Labor. As his duty, he have every right to shut down any kind of company owned by any kind of person. In the United States, the same thing, they have Health and Safety Executive who is in charge of occupational safety and health. Here we have Factory Act still in power. So you go and meet one small company at the back of your house, the man will tell you, I'm not a factory. Go and meet Dangote. That is where the factory is. And the man is causing a whole lot of nuisance and killing people and endangering people's life within that environment. But you will still claim that it's not a factory. So the international best practice stipulate that we need to now capture it in a way that it have to be occupational. So every occupation, like you are here now, is your occupation. So if I should come to you now to ask you where is your safety day, you will tell me here is not factory place. I should go to factory. But you are in an occupation. You are in a workplace. That workplace have safety procedures to be complied to. So till now, we are still dangling with that. We still have the Ministry of Labor, which is where occupational safety and health and the welfare of the workforce domiciled. And they are doing their best in terms of bringing up health and safety guidelines, health and safety policies. But that's not the law. That's not the law. The law have to come. An act have to be established to put people into where they belong when they violate any of these safety regulations or safety laws or safety guidelines and endangering lives are there. So when you comes to the artisans you see in the informal sector, many of them don't understand what you're talking about. Go to construction sector, they are wearing slippers or even on the ordinary bare legs to do their jobs. Mismeant as dangerous as cement is. No safety shoe, nothing, no nose mask, no coverall, no equipment to carry heavy loads, because there are some illness that even you can't say. You are talking of illness, you are talking of economic hazards, you are talking of different kind of hazardous situations you see in such a work environment. And even look at the building construction. You in this country today, you still see 2, 3, 4-story buildings. They are using bamboo to do some of those things, and people are falling from there. Such art and such unsafe conditions every month, every time in different cities of this country. But there is no serious act, or there is no serious enforcement to shut down such unsafe attitude of employers or contractors who are exposing Nigeria.
How can an employee or a worker who has complaints be able to register their complaints with the Ministry of Labor and see that it is taken up and dealt with appropriately?
Yes, just like Mr. Paul is saying, when you comes to registering of incidents and accidents, it's stipulated also in the Factory Act that such accident or fatality should be reported, or maybe an aggrieved employee to report some of those cases to the Ministry of Labor. Maybe if it's an incident, or maybe that is very fatal or something, and there is some death or maybe injuries or fatalities or amputation of any part of the body, you take it to the National Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF, which they already have compensation act already established, which they are working on, which is part of what they are implementing to ensure that every employee with any kind of injury gets compensated. But that also can happen if the company is already registered with the fund, because they pay some amount of percentages to the fund. So if anything should happen, they will now bounce back to the fund for proper investigations and claims, which the fund have to handle that. So these are issues, and these are the some measures that are in place now. But coming down to just like the last speaker was talking about, the best and which is the best to carry on is total prevention, and that total prevention have to do with awareness, because Nigerians don't really even understand what safety is all about. We are still on the awareness stage in this country. And not only just in Nigeria, in Africa, we are still on the awareness stage. In the Western world, they have passed awareness stage, goes to enforcement, because you need to be aware before you enforce. You cannot enforce what you have not informed people. Then after enforcement, they work towards culture, building a safety culture. Everybody know, just like as you know that before you eat eba or eat gari, you have to wash your hand. It's a culture, it's part of you. They have gone through that culture. They are now implementing what we call total prevention. That is why the UN pumping billions of dollars to ensure that it shouldn't even happen. Accidents shouldn't even exist. And it's achievable if the measures and the systems and the management structures are in place. Then there is no issue. So there is no such happening. As he said, we need to put in, like myself, coming from a professional body, Occupational Safety and Health Association, what we focus on in the awareness, advocacy, and policy development, and also guiding public and private sectors to do the needful. Is it?
I was going to ask what your association is doing to, ensure that companies, have these safety measures put in place. There are several, work hazards that Nigerians overlook. How have you been able to inform Nigerians of these, their rights, first of all, and some of these measures that need to be put in place, especially when setting up organizations or companies?
Yes, when it comes to what we are doing as Occupational Safety and Health Association, Oshassociation UK Nigerian region, as an international body, from this session till tomorrow, I can tell you that we have imparted a whole lot, but it's still not too visible, because we are talking of over 200 million Nigerians. And it's expected that over 200 million Nigerians need to be enlightened and need to be sensitized on what health and safety is all about, both at home, both at the workplace, and even on the move. You see people telling you the snack bag, all these kidnappers and so many things. So many of these things are lack of safety, self-safety knowledge, self-security skills and knowledge to know how to move, where to go, time to move, and how to regulate yourself. Now, as an institution, we have been doing a whole lot in terms of the awareness, in terms of in-house awareness and training, conferences, workshops, and also getting some of the leaders to be involved in taking decisions on issues of safety, because safety cannot succeed without the top management engagement. There is nothing any organization can do if the MD, if the minister, if the DG is not involved. So what we do as an institution also is to drive safety from the top, getting them involved. As a membership institutions, we bring them on board as a member so that they will be getting some of this safety knowledge, safety skills to be able to implement and do the needful in terms of their decision making. So these are the things we have been doing, and we keep doing that. We are spreading it now to states. We're having state chapters, local government representatives, and also working with institutions like NYSC, like universities, polytechnics, because that's where this knowledge have to pump in. Imagine universities and polytechnics launching thousands and millions of graduates into the labor market without the safety skills, without safety knowledge.
Do you think that it's time for us to amend the labor laws in Nigeria? Because
when it comes to the labor law, is totally off from this point, because yes, it has element of safety in it, but you need to understand, in line with international international labor organization, and in line with the previous conventions that have been held at Geneva with ILO, with other country stakeholders, is stipulated that every country should come up with a new law or a new act that will give birth to an agency or to a council that will regulate and manage all issues of safety. And that is the roadmap of where we are now. We have the OSH bill, Occupational Safety and Health Bill, which should have entered the law since the previous administration. But because of one thing or the other, when the new administration, our new president came in, it have to go back to National Assembly and also the Senate. Until now, as we are speaking, it's still in the House. That is the only roadmap to get it implemented. Then we'll be able to have somebody assigned from the presidency who will be in charge, just like other agencies of government, who will be in charge to manage the issues of occupational safety and health, regulate stakeholders, regulate professional bodies, regulate companies, and come up with new order of procedures, so that things will not continue to be done the way it is. But we have a new, a good news also. Okay. The good news we also have now is that last 3 months or thereabout, the speaker have to launch a new committee. And that new committee launch was the Committee on Safety Regulations and Standard in the National Assembly for the first time in the history of this country. So we have a committee assigned on safety regulations and standards that now looks into the issues of safety. What is the ministries of government, agencies of government, companies, what are you doing as regards to safety implementations, safety? And lucky enough, we are also part of that movement to work with the committee house members in terms of giving them the required knowledge they need to make the right decisions, to make the right laws. So the Oshassociation is doing everything possible to work with this committee to make sure that we achieve the needful, and we also move safety forward in the country.
And this is where we'd love to drop the anchors this morning and say thank you, Engineer Emmanuel Uwalaka, who is Administrator Occupational and Safety Health Association, Oshassociation, UK, Nigeria region. Thank you so much for sharing thoughts with us this morning.
Thank you so much. Highly appreciate it.